Yo, what is going on, everyone? It is Lion here, and today I am bringing you some fresh content. It is the full spoiler review from the new Gods Unchained set, Divine Order. I'm going to be joined by TheProfesserf, FakeMews, KrumpyLumpkins, Nottamali, and Alymere as we go through, review the cards, and talk about what we like, what we don't like, and what we don't understand. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. Welcome, everyone. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be doing the Divine Order spoiler review. I have cut every card into a PNG, regretfully, and we're going to be featuring those over on the right of me here. And then underneath all of our guests, there is a little box that is the same color as their crystal, and they will be writing a rating from 1 to 10. The rating's not okay. Actually, I did have some for this. A rating on 1 to 10, 10 being Enduring Shield and 1 being Balthazar. And then we will kind of discuss if there are any insights, reasons. If someone has like an outrageous rating, we'll talk about reasoning behind that. And yeah, that's kind of the format. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah. Before we get started, any of the guests, anything you wanted to say to the audience before we get into this absolutely massive stack of cards?
I mean, Balthazar is not a 1. I mean, this is a solid 3. Come on.
I hope so. I hope you're right. I have a solid 5 of them. So, all right. So let's go ahead, and you all can see the stream now. Let's go to the first card. The first card is, these are kind of just in a random order. We're going to go ahead and start with this is Krumpy's card, I believe, the Soul Survivor. So bring that up here. The Soul Survivor. So now you all will write a rating from 1 to 10 of how you rate this card in the box, and then we will do a reveal and discuss. All right, we have almost all the entries in. Okay, here we go. Let's go ahead and look at okay, almost all the entries. We missed one. There it is. Some redos. No cheating. No cheating. You have to commit. All right, let's go ahead and reveal what the answers were. Bam. Professerf with Hi Mom 3, Nottamali with a 10, Muse with a 4, KrumpyLumpkins with 7, and Alymere with 3. So Nottamali, a 10 on the Soul Survivor. Make the card bigger. Okay, 1 second. That's going to be a problem. All of the cards are the same size. So, yeah, Nottamali, any reasoning on the 10? That's a strong rating there.
It sure is. I like it. I really think that it's flexible in terms of being control war. I also think that just generally it works well against Demogorgon. It works well with Demogorgon. We have sort of talked about how the game seems to be shifting towards faster games. At least that's what like the stated balance team has mentioned. But I think that with the amount of cards that are accessible to war, at least currently, control will still be a thing, particularly because onslaught is still a thing. We can talk about that later, but that's pretty much why I think that war control will still exist, and I think that this is a cool war control card.
Nice. Yeah, did anyone have any response or want to expand, or did Prof or Ali, did you want to chime in with why a 3? A little harsh, I think.
If I can play devil's advocate if they don't want to.
I think Ali, are you talking? Can't hear you.
No. But I will. Yeah. So as the dissenting opinion here, I think any board wipe that requires a creature to be on board is automatically going to be far less effective, especially at 7 mana. Like if you compare this to the other 7 mana board wipe in the game, Apocalypse Now, it's just not even close. It's night and day. Apocalypse Now is maybe an 8 card, and this card is not even half as good.
I agree. I feel like it's a strong conditional late in the game. It's gonna be hard to trigger it. The effect is nice if you get it off, but I just feel like there's other better options.
Now, I've got a question for everyone here. Do you think this gets through ward or not? Because it's unclear to me if it's targeting other creatures. Because it's giving +5 strength to one of your creatures, and then it deals its strength as damage to each other creature. Is that actually going to go through ward? And that could have an impact on how good the card is as well.
Or leech for that matter. So if you put it on Demogorgon and it clears the board and heals you for 30, that's pretty
It
darn
doesn't
good.
specifically say that that creature is dealing the damage. It's kind of tricky. It deals its strength as the damage. So the wording is just super, super weird here. But I generally agree with Alymere's point about it's significantly worse because you need to have a minion on the board to wipe the board. Usually when you need a board wipe, it's usually because you don't have the board and the opponent has a big one. So I don't think it's that great. Harder Sweep is just a superior card. But it is an additional board wipe, and that's going to be useful. So there is some utility at just being a board wipe. But I rank this similar to like a Lysander's Mercy.
I mean, you can look at it purely as a board wipe, or you can look at it as maybe having a little more utility than that as well. Like, it's if you have creatures on the board at 7 mana, and your opponent has put up a couple of front lines, or has some creatures on the board that you want gone, this gives you +5 strength to a creature, essentially wipes their board, and allows you to go face with, say you have a 4 strength creature on the board, allows you to go face with 9. So I don't think it can be viewed as a board wipe in a vacuum or compared to APOC now. It has more utility than that, and that's why I'm looking at about a 7. I'm interested to see how it plays out.
Nice. I love the varying opinions here. We got a nice spectrum of perspectives. So I think that's it for the Soul Survivor. Let's move on to the next one. I will hide those ratings, and our next card is Stormfield. I'm guessing I'm gonna have to make all of these cards bigger, so bear with me while I do that as we reveal them. The Stormfield. This one is a 5-cost magic spell. Deal 2 damage to each creature without order, and give spell boost +1 to each of your creatures. So go ahead and write your rating of what you feel this card is from a 1 to 10. Boss, thank you very much for the follow. All right, so it looks like everyone's answers are in. Let's go ahead and reveal those now. We have a 6 from TheProfesserf, a 3 from Nottamali, 2 from FakeMews, 4 from KrumpyLumpkins, and a 0 question mark from Alymere, or maybe O. So I do see a comment that says, it's hard to rate this card before we know more about order. And so yeah, that is true. Does anyone have any strong opinions on what they think order does? Because I think we may have wanted to talk about that first, but I don't know. I'll let you kind of go over your ratings, and then maybe that'll come up in the discussion naturally. Yeah, go ahead if anyone wants to start.
I'll go first since I gave the highest rating. Yeah, let me go first. Yeah, I just gave it a 6 because I feel like it's not super strong, so it's not higher than a 6, but I think it's Crystal Rain with additional benefits. So that's my reasoning. I'm comparing it to Crystal Rain. You have a chance to give spell boost +1. That's worth a little bit above average. So that's my reasoning.
Okay, so basically here, you're comparing it to Crystal Rain. I'm also comparing it to Crystal Rain, but guess what? This is inferior in every way to Crystal Rain, because Crystal Rain deals 2 damage to each of your opponent's creatures, flat out, not unconditionally, all of them, and doesn't touch your own creatures, and you have the 4C slight benefit. This deals 2 damages to not only your opponent's stuff, but your things as well. It doesn't damage your opponent's creatures which have order. We don't know what that does, but your opponent could have some creatures with order. It damages your creatures without order. So it's just worse in that way. And plus 1 spell boost to each of your creatures. Try getting any utility out of that at all on a 5-mana spell. Because your opponent you're not gonna be able to combo this with many other cards at 5. It's just gonna, unless you're already in the late game. And for late game board wipes, you're gonna have much better options. So for me, I just don't see this card being playable. I think Stormfield is inferior to Faraday's Cage and Crystal Rain.
Yeah, I'll just chime in here real quick by saying I gave this a 0 because my opinion is it should not have been printed. Just look at how many board wipes Magic has, and literally Crystal Raid is the same card but better. And this is an epic from a new set, so people are going to be buying this with real money, and it's just worse than a core set common. I don't know. 0 is saved for truly awful cards in my opinion, and this is one.
Wow, strong opinions on this.
I think the biggest thing of interest to me is how gods that use order and gods that use frenzy are going to interact in the next set. So we're looking at light magic and deception cards, a lot of them with order on them. Well, that isn't a thing for war, nature, and death. So this kind of card might be far more effective against those 3 gods without order than, playing up against another magic opponent or someone playing deception where all their cards have order and this does nothing. So, I think it's pretty bad. I was probably generous with the 4, looking at the spell boost, but Muse is right. You're not going to combo this and get utility out of that spell boost. Unless maybe it gave spell boost to your creatures and then did the damage. That'd be kind of interesting, but otherwise, I won't be playing this card.
Yeah, and I'll just chime in there, just agree. But ultimately, I'm thinking that we need to know more about order. I think in something like sealed draft mode, it could be useful, but otherwise, yeah, it doesn't seem very good at all.
All right, sorry, I had to. I saw Yerba Mate stare at me from across the room. But yeah, I think I did want to talk real quickly about any predictions on what order does. There's a card later on. I was gonna bring it up at the time we revealed that, but doesn't entirely make sense to wait that long. I think there is a 3/2 with spell boost 1, and I believe it's order 3. And it made me think that order could potentially be when you hit a god and you would gain favor. That favor pays off order. I was thinking that they might have to like deal that much damage, but then that doesn't make sense because if they don't deal damage, they can't gain favor. So I don't know. Any thoughts on if that might be the case of what order is?
I think order being we're seeing lots of order cards with order 3, which pairs up really well with the favor gain from an attack. Copper, I believe, has speculated that, order might be paid off using favor, and that, losing order is an action, something to do with favor, and that makes a fair bit of sense to me. I'm not sure how it'll work, but it's obviously a cost to the player to lose order. My question is whether you can do it the same turn the card is played, or whether it takes a turn for them to be able to lose order, in which case, a lot of the cards you'd see are fairly weak unless you can access that ability on the turn that they're played.
Yeah. I think we might have some cards in here that it'll be mostly speculative, and that's just kind of how it is until they announce what the actual what some of these definitions are for the next set. So does anyone have anything else, or should we move on to the next one? All right.
Go ahead, move on. I have no theories for order.
Okay. Got it. Okay, well let's go on to the next one. The next one is the Strix Conscript, and it is a 3/1 for 3 neutral Anubian, really cool owl mummy. And has armor 1. So go ahead and write what you would rate this, and then we will discuss. All right, looks like everyone's answers are in. It is a 1 across the board. So everyone feeling quite strongly that that this is not too valuable of a card. Any comments, or I guess, do you all agree on the general consensus that armor 1 will prevent like 1 damage from each source that turn, or any speculation on that?
I agree with that general assessment. I think it's probably that way. Like it won't fit any archer, but I mean, Vanguard Axewoman probably still trades with it. And for 3 mana, it's just not sticky enough to really have any sort of value. I would much rather have a Trojan Battle Mage, for instance, which has protected, or a regular than this, unless armor does something drastically different than we think it does.
Yep, I agree with Muse. This is worse than pretty much every other 3-drop in the game you can think of. Definitely worse than Trojan Battle Mage. Probably even worse than Hunt Warden. And if you're worse than Hunt Warden, then you're not very good.
Hey, Hunt Warden's pretty good. Go ahead, Crumpy.
Yeah, like it's gonna, I guess, come down to a little bit with armor. What damage sources it protects against. I'm speculating at this stage that it is creature damage and spell damage, because otherwise a lot of the armor cards are really underwhelming if they don't protect against spells at all. I think that it won't protect against burn. That's my speculation as to why they're getting rid of god powers that can burn opponents' creatures, and that those burn effects will, purely be coming from card sources. This is also really weak against the change to, was it Blood Ritual that they announced the other day, where it destroys a creature with 1 health. So armor's gonna lose to that pretty quick.
Sorry, the graphics are a little messed up here, but Blood Ritual, yeah, destroy a creature with 1 health and heal for 1. I was going to do the God Powers at the end, but yeah, we'll have those for the end, but that is the change.
Yeah, I think armor is good overall, but just not on this card because of the 1 health. But I think armor is going to be a good effect. Like you'd want it on a creature.
Yeah. I mean, there's some tribe synergy potentially, but otherwise it's just the stats overall don't seem to hold up for the cost.
Yeah, it is a bit underwhelming. I think the other Strix feels that same way too. Have any of you ever played the other Strix card?
What other Strix card?
Yeah, there is one. So
it's junk. You wouldn't have played it.
Yeah,
Blade of Strix.
It's a 4 mana 2/5 with Twin Strike.
It's not terrible to Chosen One deck, but wait, we don't have Chosen One anymore.
Oof. Yeah. Oh, I got a good one for later on, having to do with Chosen One. All right, let's we'll go ahead and get that Strix out of here, and let's go ahead and bring up the next one. I think I know which one this is. This is the Vicious Manticore. So go ahead and get your ratings in. All right, so everyone seems to have an answer. Let's go ahead and see what those are. We have, wow. All right. I see how it is. Everyone's gonna give me a less than 5 rating for my reveal card. This of course isn't personal. It's not because it's part lion. Did anyone have any comments on their thoughts of? I believe everyone generally thinks at this point that Frenzied is a trigger on your god that it gains if some source of damage has dealt damage to the opposing god that turn. So once any of your cards or your god would deal damage to the opposing god, you are now frenzied. But yeah, any comments or thoughts on that?
Yeah, I guess I'll go
I
again.
just noticed I got the professor to change his answer to mine, but okay, just wanted to
Well,
point
no,
that out.
that was because I just found out Ryan revealed it, so it actually got worse.
Oh no. But yeah,
Shots
on my
fired.
end, because of the highest score, I would say I like that it seems to be a potential trigger for Frenzied with the overkill. I agree that I'm probably being a little optimistic on it, but the fact that the overkill can proc Frenzied and then do the additional 3 damage, I think, is going to be useful. We've seen another spell that's like a 1 cost that does 1 damage, and so it's really, I feel as though this next set is going to be heavily reliant upon proccing Frenzied for at least for nature. So this is a tool that can do that, and so I think that it's not terrible.
So for me, I try to compare things to other cards, and I compare this to Viking Longship, which is a 4-mana 3/4 with Blitz, 1 mana cheaper, gives everything flank. So it's a different ability, but I actually think the flank is a lot more useful when you're trying to finish opponents as well. And here, 3 health on a 5-cost creature is just way too soft. The effects would have to be really, really strong for this card to be playable, in my opinion. And the blitz, maybe you're making a 1-for-1 trade or something, but that's about it. And overkill, it's going to be just so hard to get that to really to be dependable or accurate at all. So I just don't think that it's a very high value, high utility card. I don't think it's going to see some serious play at all.
Yeah, the strongest thing you can run this thing into is 2 strength in order to keep it on the board and make use of the deal 3 to your opponent's god. So, for example, you run this thing into a Pyramid Warden. It doesn't even kill it. You get no overkill. You get no frenzied on the opponent's god. You've got a 4/1 on the board, and you get no use of the effect. So I think there needs to be some extra strength, health, or bring the mana cost down on this card because it doesn't have enough to it in terms of stats to make it relevant.
Yeah, I think there's the wild synergy there, and we've seen buffs with to cards like Wildfire, but particularly with the way this works, like having Blitz and only 3 health, the chances that this stays on the board past the first turn you attack with it, if it like survives that first attack, is pretty slim. And I think that if you've just used a Blitz with this 4/3, and then your Vicious Mana Core can still survive, it just doesn't seem like the way that the mechanics line up there make very much sense. So I'm not sure that there's a ton of benefit to the wild synergy here on this card, but yeah, it seems like a little bit like an animal put together of different parts. But yeah, let's. Does anyone have any comments on this one, or should we move to the next one?
I've got nothing to add.
All right, let's go on to the next one. We have the Watchful Hound now. The Watchful Hound, the goodest boy in the entire game. I mean, how do you not love this card? Look at that. So go ahead and get your ratings of that in. It's a 3/3 for 3 light card, and it has Roar, give order +10 to target enemy creature. Afterlife, remove order from that creature. All right, just waiting on one answer. I need a song for this. Okay, we're going to go ahead and reveal those. We have TheProfesserf with 4, Nottamali with 4, FakeMews with 4, Estion Mark, Krumpy with a 6, Alymere with 10-15. I think it's
1 or 5.
1 or 5, okay.
Depending.
Gotcha. 1 or 5, 10-15. Yeah, any reasoning for One or five. Okay, let's start with Alymere. Can you explain that one to me? Because I am really confused.
Yes. So immediately when I saw this card, I thought Fiend Hunter from Magic the Gathering. It's a card, comes into the board, exiles an opponent's creature. Then when it dies, the creature comes back. So the reason this is way worse than that is because you can directly attack your opponent's creatures in this game. So your Fiend Hunter just dies the turn after it comes in. So it's a 1 if the creature, after losing order, can attack that turn. Or it's a 5 if the creature is like stun locked. So like if I Watchful Hound your Demogorgon, and then you kill my Watchful Hound on your turn, if your Demogorgon can then immediately attack, this card is garbage, maybe even a 0. But if it's like slept for the remaining duration of your turn and can't attack, then maybe it's got fringe playability.
All right, anyone else? Any comments on the Watchful Hound?
I mean, really, this just all comes down to what is order, what type of effect will this have? Similar to what Alymere said, after it's removed, what does that entail? 3 mana, 3/3. You're really only giving up a very small amount of stats for this effect. That is one positive thing. Granted, you can have a 3 mana, 3/4 with Hunt Warden, but stats for cost wise, it's similar to that of a Jason, which isn't ideal to just play purely, but when you have a little bit of extra juice on it, if you can get utility out of it, even if they remove it immediately, then it can become fringe playable. My guess is that this isn't super good though. But without knowing what Order 10 does to a minion, it's hard to say.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be amazing, but the fact that it's a light card and it's very much a first turn light zoo card, in my opinion. If you can drop this and lock out an opponent's creature, in the fairly early game, and you just stall your opponent out while you continue to build your board wider and wider, this has some use case in doing that. I think, particularly if order is, what I expect it to be in terms of the favor cost in order to remove order, then, this is either going to cause someone to starve themselves of favor or just lock out a creature long enough that light can get ahead. So I think it could have some utility in that sense. I think the stats are a bit weak, but it is going to be a common card, so it'd be interesting to see if those kind of order lockout plays make it into the meta next set.
Yeah, I'm under the assumption that order pacifism. Like if you cast it on an enemy creature, it can't move for that many turns. So this one would lock out a creature for 10 turns. But I agree with Alymere. If you remove order and that creature can immediately act, then that makes this card even weaker because, as Krumpy said, it only has that 3 health. So the afterlife is going to trigger fairly quickly, probably the next turn right after you cast the roar effect. So I think it's a 4.
Yeah, it makes sense. The only thing I'll add is that if you remove it, there are certain creatures that seem to get a roar type effect when order is removed. So it's a double-edged sword as well. So I don't have it scored too highly because of that.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you know what I'm kind of starting to think about order then is that you can't attack with the creature until you have gained that much favor, and I think that any source of favor generation will take the order count down off of everything in play on your side of the board whenever you gain favor, but then you wouldn't actually gain that amount of favor to your store of favor. But yeah, I don't know, that just seems like it might, deductive reasoning, I think that's where I'm at with my understanding of it. But yeah, it's interesting. I think that if it does lock out a card like that, especially behind some front lines, it essentially requires spells to remove, and it could be fairly useful. So, yeah, let's anything else, or I guess we're probably just gonna have to keep moving. We have a ton of cards. So, Watchful Hound, goodbye. It's an adorable dog. Okay, the next one we have up is the Watchtower. This is way too small. This is, whoa. Watchtower of Agrador. This is a legendary structure. This is a 2/8, 2/8 backline ability. Pick one, summon an Argador. Oh wow, it's Argador or Agrador. Okay. Anyways, Agrador Protector, a tainted treant, or 3 vibrant fruits. Yeah. So go ahead and get your ratings in for this one.
I get the spelling wrong. I'm certain it's Agrador. Otherwise,
Yeah, the spelling's off.
Okay, that's what happened there. I was like, I don't know why I'm struggling with this so hard, but yeah, it does say Argador in. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So minus 1 for the typo, for sure. We'll just be taking one off across the board. All right, so it looks like everyone has their ratings in. Let's go ahead and reveal those now. Bam, we have a 7 from ProfesserF, a 10 from Nottamali, FakeMews with the 8, KrumpyLumpkins with the 7, and Alymere with the 8. So the outlier here, Nottamali, going with the 10. Can you explain that rating?
A little generous maybe, but I think 8's a really high stat for a 6 cost. I think that it's really likely that this creature will survive, and I think that we're going to see a lot of interesting interactions with backline, particularly with what we're talking about with order, where things are sort of a little bit slower. It's going to be harder to get these harder moves in, and the fact that it can summon creatures to sort of protect it and keep it from being attacked directly by other creatures. I just think that it's a really cool card. Really interesting to see the flexibility and just the stats. I feel as far as the defensive stats are just off the charts.
Yeah, that is a lot of health for a backline creature. Yeah. Anyone else? We have FakeMews, and Alymere doesn't have any. Alymere with the 6 reduces it to 6. Alymere, why reduce the rating to 6?
I thought this thing had roar, and I was like, man, this is just a power creeped Isadora, but it's actually just a bad 6-drop. I don't think this ever lives a turn. If it does, you probably win the game, but like, it doesn't have ward, so it just comes down. It gets hit by some sort of destruction ray. You know, maybe it gets one ability off. If you use its ability once, you got value. But even if you use it to summon an Agrador Protector, that's like the average stats you would expect from a 6-drop, I think. Especially I'm comparing it to Black Rhino, so you know it'll see play, but I don't think you play this over like some other 6-drops in your aggressive nature deck.
One thing some Syken just mentioned in chat, fruits are somewhat like Shield Bearer. Does anyone remember what the stats on fruit were? I think it's something that gives +1/+1 to another creature when it dies.
It gives +1/+1 to, I think, the creature with your highest strength, or the strongest creature. I'm not sure the wording on it, but yeah, it gives +1/+1 to another creature. And one cool thing with this card is that it's got backline, and if you can summon 3/1/1s, if your opponent's trying to get to it with minions, good luck. Because it's just too many minions, it floods the board by itself. The only reason why I don't have it ranked higher than 8, personally, is because of Light's Levy. That's a major problem with this card. But with that being said, this hits the board. A 2/8 with backline, if it's a competitive game where you're not trying to come from behind, then this card can flat out win you the game. You're summoning a high value card every single turn. It's backline. Dealing 8 damage to a backline creature is something very difficult. Magic needs to ratify, and that's about it. Death has a couple of answers. Light has Light's Levy, but what does nature or war really do? Deception. What does deception do to this? They don't have very good counters at all. I mean, unless they can Umber Arrow it and it's one of your bigger creatures. But this, to me, just that it has so much value potential that I rate it very highly. I think it's a pretty intriguing card.
Yeah, it's strong for sure, but in a vacuum, not so much. It's a huge win more card. If you're dropping this on an empty board with when your creature has when your opponent has a bunch of creatures out ready to kill it, it's not going to get very far. It's it's not a good card, by its lonesome, no immediate effect. So it's going to be circumstantial, really. But nature doesn't have all that much issue putting creatures out to or winning the creature game on the board. So could be insanely strong if played in the right circumstances.
I agree. I think it's a situational card, but I think it's decent because, I know Alymere mentioned the lack of ward, but many times, a skilled player can keep their Selena alive just due to the back line. I think the ability's pretty important because you could trigger that the next turn. So, and then also someone mentioned it earlier, the 8th health. I think it's Nottamali. 8th health's not that easy to get rid of. Muse did bring up a good point about the life levy, but I just feel like this card can see play, just because of the backline and the upside it offers. But it's not. I don't see it as very powerful, but I think it's decent.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think that there's not a lot of ways to deal 8 damage to something straight up with spells. So I think that's enough health for it to, be pretty substantial. I feel like the only way you're losing this is against very specific spells, or like a board wipe where you're going to lose everything anyways. So I think that it's pretty decent. That being said, I don't have a rating here, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Appreciate the reviews on that. Pretty excited about that one myself. Let's see, where are we? All right, let's hide these. All right, next one is Harrowing Visions. So this is a 4-cost death spell. It's a little bit bigger here. The 4-cost death spell. Draw 2 cards, and if you are frenzied, draw 3 cards instead. Go ahead and get those ratings in. All right, looks like everyone has something written down. Let's reveal those now. We got ProfesserF and Nottamali with 5s. Muse rating it a little bit higher at 7. And Krumpy and Alymere going 4 and 3. So I guess let's start. Muse, 7. What do you think is good about this card?
I assume that it's going to be pretty easy to trigger Frenzied, just based on other cards in the set. So, I mean, granted, the power level of this card depends on that. So I'm assuming basically it's a 4-mana draw 3 type of card, and that just seems like a lot of value for cost. I mean, you look at Rune Viper Tincture and Magic is 5 mana to draw 3, and it's a borderline card that you don't see played a lot because it's slow. But in this new meta, I think Death is going to be doing a lot of things with card manipulation, and something like this could probably be abused by Death. So it'll be interesting to see how people utilize this card.
I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I think it's awful because of the new hero powers. Why would you play this when you can just hit 2-mana draw a card? Like you hate this in the control matchup. It's pretty awful if you don't activate the frenzy. You have a god power that literally draws you cards on command now. You're pretty much hand locked from Hearthstone. I don't think you need this at all. The power level of the card is okay, but it's just not necessary.
Any other major insights, comments, or shall we move on? All right, we're gonna go on to the next one. Let's go ahead and pull this one up. This is Hearts of Bronze. This is a 2-cost warrior spell. Give 1 armor to each of your creatures. Go ahead and get those ratings in. Yeah, I can't wait till they're all available. I'm looking forward to the art to the rest of the set as well. Virtual Deity. All right, these reviews are in. Let's go ahead and check them out. We have a 2, almost all the way across the board. KrumpyLumpkins coming with the 5, Alymere with the 1. Krumpy, what do you like about this?
I mean, it's 2 mana. It's, look, I can understand the low scores. I can understand why, because like if you're playing aggro, right, you're trying to spill cards out onto the field. You're trying to get stuff out rather than buff it. That said, if you can get a wide board, say by 3, 4, 5 mana, and you have a spare 2 to drop this, before those wipes and stuff start coming in the early game, like you can have a full board full of really hardy creatures using this card. You have it on Pyramid Wardens, you can drop a Blitz creature and then play this card. So I think there's going to be a fair bit of utility to giving all of your creatures 1 armor. It basically is a board-wide health buff for 2 mana, so I don't think it's going to be all that bad.
Yeah, I wonder if armor will prevent.
I see this card.
Oh, go ahead, Prof.
No, I was just gonna say, I see this card as kind of like what Krumpy said, but I think main utility for this card is going to be in aggro war. You want a wide board, so I think at playing a 2 mana card, I'd rather put a utility or a relic on. If I do have a wide board where I could get value from this card and hit multiple creatures, I feel like I'll be winning at that point already. So I could understand the insurance against board wipes, but I think aggro players, for the most part, I mean, you're racing against the board wipe clock already, so either you're going to win it that turn or not. So I can see the utility of it, but I just feel like it's not going to add as much value as if this was a good static creature or something.
Yeah, one of my thoughts is if that 1 armor, if it does, as kind of we are expecting, prevent 1 damage from all sources, it's pretty decent to protect your low health creatures from like tracking bolts and other 1 damage pings. But something else I thought of is I wonder if it would prevent the 1 damage that your Overproof Brew would deal to your own creatures, because that'd be some kind of cool synergy if it's like just 1 damage from every source, including your own cards, or if it perhaps behaves like ward and it doesn't protect your creatures from your own abilities. So but yeah, all right, let's
the only way I could see this getting any utility at all is if you can stack a lot of armor on a creature, hypothetically build a Pyramid Warden with like 5 armor and then say, hey, I dare you to get through this lab. I don't know what other type of cards would synergize with this. There are other cards in the expansion that do involve armor, but with just alone by itself, I just don't see it being very playable.
Gotcha. Yeah, all right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. I think we're gonna have to pick up the pace a little bit here. There are so many of these cards. It is ridiculous. Reminds me of not so long ago when I cut all of these PNGs out. It was not a good time. All right, so the next one we have is the Inquisitor Informant. It is a 2/1 for 2 light creature, and its roar, give order +3 to an enemy creature. So go ahead and throw those ratings up. All right, looks like we have numbers in from everyone. We have a 3 from TheProfesserf, 2 from Nottamali, 1, a 3 from FakeMews, a 3 question mark from Krumpy, and a 2 from Alymere. So fairly low ratings. I'm guessing don't really know what order does. Any primary comments? I don't know if there's too much we need to go over on this one.
Unless order straight up locks the creature out of the game for 3 turns, this card is awful. I think that's basically it.
It's just terrible stats for cost. 2 mana, 2/1 is horrendous unless order is amazing.
Yeah, fair. All right, well, let's move to the next one then. We actually have this is a good one. This is Lady Marcella. Now, Lady Marcella is the first deception card that we've seen. I kind of noticed there aren't a lot of deception cards that were spoiled, but Lady Marcella is a 3-cost legendary, and it is a 3/3 guild that has Roar summon it 2 Rogue Skulkers with Deadly. Afterlife, summon 2 Rogue Skulkers with Deadly for your opponent. So yeah, let's get some ratings in on this one. Interested.
What's a Skulker? Is it a 1/1 stealth deadly?
I don't think it has
Still,
stealth.
it's still, yeah, it's those 1/1s that you get from mugging, but this one has deadly instead. No hidden.
Okay.
All right, looks like we have some reviews in. Big numbers across the board. We have a 10 from okay, now we have a 7 from Alymere. We have 10 from Prof, 10 from Nottamali, FakeMews with the 7, KrumpyLumpkins with the 8, and Alymere with a 10 and then a 7. A little bit of change in perspective there. So let's go. First, let's hear from FakeMews. Why the 7?
I mean, to me, this is a 3-mana 3/3. It has a benefit for you with the Rogue Skulkers immediately, but your opponent is going to do everything they can to kill it, and they'll get their own Rogue Skulkers. To me, I can see it just being effectively a 3-mana 3/3 with a neutral trade-off, but it is kind of unique in that you can play this against maybe an opponent who's running big minions, and you're more of a control deception build, so they can't get as much value against you. So you can control it. So there is some upside to the card, but to me, it's just not super high value.
That's fair. So Professerf and Nottamali both 10s. Did either of you want to explain? Or I guess I want to hear from both of you. Let's go with Professor first, and then Nottamali. Why the 10s?
Yeah, I mean, I really want this card. I was talking to Clutch about this. I disagree with Muse. As much as your opponent wants the Afterlife, they are going to be worried about the ones with Deadly. Those are going to trade to anything they want, so you want to control that trade. So your priority will be the Deadlies. If I'm playing Deception and I play this card, you better bet I have a Shiv to kill your Deadly 1/1s that you summon and my cheat ready, my Orpheos, whatever it's called, God Power, which is cheat. So the downside is very minimal. The upside is huge. 3/3 with Guild, so we have a lot of Guild synergy. But I think really the bonus is the 2 1/1s with Deadly. Like those are going to be a priority for your opponent to get rid of.
Yeah, maybe they seem to be printing some Hearthstone stuff, so maybe we'll get Fan of Knives. Yeah, I think that's a good point. Nottamali, what about you?
Mostly just Desert Mercenary, that this can be a 1-cost card as well. But everything that Professor said, I think it's flexible. I think that it works well in Zoo decks. I think the Deadly also works really well in Control decks. So yeah, I just think it's very strong.
Yeah, I think there are a few options to hit creatures for 1. I think the early relic, like was mentioned by Professor, and then cheat. You can make quick work of those. So yeah, pretty interesting stuff there. But Alymere has switched now to a final answer of 5. Alymere, you want to explain your 10, your 7, and your 5, or just the 5?
Okay. This is the first time I saw the card. So I read Roar, summon 2 1/1s, 3-mana 5/5. Wow, that's insane. They have Deadly, 10 out of 10. Then I read Afterlife, your opponent gets 2. And I thought, that's a little bit worse. And then I thought, oh my god, you just spent all these resources building up a board. And then as soon as they kill your 3/3, they get 1/1s to kill your OP Pyramid Warden that you just buffed up to, however many stats. Like now they're just deadlying all of those creatures that you spent turns building. I just don't think like it. I think I don't get the hype pretty much. It is the first time I've seen the card though. Maybe my opinion will change. I think your opponent gets to pick what the deadlies hit a lot more efficiently than you do.
Well, they still have to clear it, so it's not like they have blitz or anything.
Exactly. For them to clear it, they have to. If they have a creature on the board, whatever creature that is that wants to clear that Deadly, it's gone. So it's a board wipe.
Onslaught's still in the game.
But Onslaught's what? So Knockbee's gonna trade into 2/1/1s with Deadly. It's gonna kill
No,
one.
no. Onslaught's gonna kill your 3/3 with a spell, and then Onslaught your 1/1 Deadly straight into your Pyramid Warden. I think it's a little bit worse than the consensus, but yeah, no, I like that this one generated a lot of debate.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a solid card, but you're gonna run into issues if your opponent has a board wipe right after you play this. Then they're gonna wipe your board, and they're gonna have 2/1/1s with deadlies to counter anything you do right after they wipe your board. So you've got to take time to remove those 1/1 with deadlies before you do anything else. So it's gonna be a double-edged sword. And I don't like cards that are high risk and high reward. When it's a 3-drop and I want to play them really quickly, I want to play them often because I like to win 80% of my games instead of flipping coins.
All right, yeah, I think a lot of opinions on this one. I liked the discussion around this one. Definitely looking forward to this card. This is one of the more exciting ones. So, all right, let's go ahead and now on this list. Let's go ahead and hide those, and let's go on to the next one. We have Mark of Death, and Mark of Death is a 3-cost death spell, and it says, Blessed, give each of your creatures afterlife summon a 1/1 zombie. So get those ratings in now. Yeah, this is the spooky set. This is that's why I predicted after the first legendary that it would come out in October. I think that was their launch date because of all the spookiness. So it looks like we have the ratings in now. Let's take a look. We got 2 from Prof and Muse. We got 4s from Nottamali and Krumpy, and a 1 from Alymere. Anyone feel compelled to speak on this one or share what you think about Blessed? Go ahead.
Yeah, so from what I gathered from the new set spreadsheet, which there's one creature in here that has the brackets explanation after the blessed keyword, and this hasn't been talked about much, but those bracket explanations are used on welcome cards to explain them to the masses, right? So this is the Planetary Acolyte. It says, Blessed, when summoned, delve 3 blessed effects and play 1. So from that, I'm gathering that Blessed is like you play the card and then you pick from a set series of effects that Blessed is. Who knows what they're going to be? Could be kind of cool. So, this card, I think it's a little too high a mana cost for giving the effect that it does, but it'll be interesting dependent on what those blessed effects are. So, I think it's wait and see, but I'm really looking forward to zombie death decks with Arch of Amenmos and Harvester and stuff like that. That's my shit. So I'm interested to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, as you'll always hear from me, maybe Nef's will. Yeah. All right.
One day.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the thing is I think these 1/1 zombies also have leech, so that's one extra thing to keep in mind. Life manipulation with death, but even then, this card only has utility if you have a wide board. If you have a wide board, things are probably going pretty well. It might be just kind of an insurance to a board wipe card, but to me, I'm not super excited about it.
Yeah, we'll have to see what the blessed options are. If there's a wake up from sleep or if there's some other cool abilities in there, it becomes a lot stronger. I think that death has no problem being wide early, and 3 mana to just turn your chickens into also zombie generators sounds like a pretty good deal as long as blessed is half decent value.
Yeah, I could.
I missed it. Zombies have leech?
Yeah.
I wonder if we can do this. If we can do card zombie. Nope. Okay, not yet. But yeah,
it's on the spreadsheet, I think.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, I didn't go through that quite all of that yet, so I'm still absorbing information as it comes out. But yeah, Krumpy, thanks for sharing that insight about the way that wording is on the card spoil. That's awesome. And Alymere, did you have? Go ahead.
Sorry, zombies are also nethers apparently, so that's something.
Interesting. They have a tribe too. That seems like quite a bit of value for a token. That actually is fairly exciting.
There is that card out there that gives all your nethers on your board 1 armor, so that could be interesting with 1/1s with Leech as well.
Yeah, I think there's definitely some value too with like kind of the archetype that exists now with the chickens, and then the name of the card's escaping me right now, but the one where you can kill a creature and get 2 anims, and then being able to essentially make sure that those all summon more tokens. Just the ability to keep recycling the creatures. It does look like we're going to have more options for something like that with this set. So, all right, let's go ahead and go to the next one. Then, the next card here is the Monolith of Storms. And I really like the card art for this one. This one is a 5. This is complicated. This is really complicated. This is a 5-cost magic creature, legendary, order 10 structure 4/4 with order 10. Sorry, there's a paragraph here. Order 10. After you play a spell, give +1 strength to this creature. Ability: deal damage to an enemy character equal to this creature's strength, and then set this creature's strength to 0. It's a good thing that they've been working on making the game less complicated and clearing up these god powers. This fits right in with that. Let's see. It's gonna maybe take a little bit of time for the rating on this one. I think everyone has to think through how this works. All right, looks like the ratings are in. We have 4s from Prof, Nottamali, and Alymere, a 3 from FakeMews, and a 2 from Krumpy. Anyone feel like they want to talk about this one? There's a lot to unpack here, so anyone feels like talking about it, go ahead. Go ahead, Prof.
Stands here, but I'm rating this card similar to a Mana Thirst Golem, 5 mana 4/4, and then that gets buffed when you get the spell off. So that doesn't really see that much play. This one has an ability effect that's dependent on that, and it goes on 0, so I don't see it as getting used as much. But again, I need to know what order is until we're 100% sure what that means. I'm just thinking just like a Mana Thirst Golem.
Yeah, I mean, it
Order 10
like...
isn't.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
If Order 10 isn't a huge benefit, then this card's just terrible stats for cost. 5 mana, 4/4, dies to Star Shard Bolt, Canopy Barrage, etc., etc. You have to really maintain the board. It reminds me a lot of Hydna Refrater, very conditional, very situational, and I just don't see it being very playable, to be honest. It's going to be, and you don't get any utility unless you make it to your turn with the ability.
Yeah, the Refrater is a good analogy there. I don't have too much to say other than it almost seems like Order could potentially protect the structure. I don't know. Like I said, to me, it's. I would put the question mark in front of my 4 in terms of Order, but yeah, it doesn't seem super useful.
It'd be interesting to see how these magic structure archetypes play out, because Magic's definitely leaning in that direction where they can throw up a bunch of structures, and they've got spell synergy with structures and stuff now, so it could play into that, and we'll have to see how Order impacts that. But I mean, you're dropping a 4/4 on the board for 5 mana that appears to be vulnerable, and then every time it does its thing, it sets its strength to 0, and in order to buff that again, you have to play spells, so it just doesn't seem all that efficient to me.
Yeah, I think this is going to come into play with the god power that allows you to generate a 1-cost spell. I haven't looked through the entire list of the new set, so I'm not entirely sure if there's been enough additional spells to support this, or like a way to generate even more 1-cost spells, but it does seem a bit overly complicated. That's just so much text. And I believe that the development team said that they're trying to go more in the direction of simplifying things, and I think that this contradicts a bit that statement. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see. Really, a lot of these come down to what does order do. So let's go ahead and move on. We have next up is the Pan Forge Master. This is a death card. It's a nether, and it is a 2/1 4-cost that has roar, give armor +1 to your other nether creatures. I think Krumpy, you mentioned this one a little while ago. So let's go ahead and get some ratings in for this one. All right, that was quick. We have ones across the board. Nottamali giving it a 2, extra pity point for the Pan Forge Master.
It's true.
Alymere just going to set it to 0. Yeah, so I guess in general, besides this just being like what FakeMews said, bad value for, like on that prior card, just bad stats for the cost. I mean, a 2/1 for 4... I mean, it does technically give Demogorgon +1 armor, so it does make it even more toxic than it already is. But aside from that, that's the only way I can get it to a 2.
The war card buffs literally all your creatures without even the nether condition, and it's only 2 mana. Granted, you don't get a 2/1 minion, but like, it just doesn't feel like that much value. It just feels terrible.
This card is conditional luminary for 2 more mana, and therefore it gets the should not have been printed rating.
Yeah, so my question is there a good way to maybe cyclically revive this creature? And so roars do not work the same way as like when you bring Neff back into the board. It's Neff's ability triggers because of... Wait, is it a roar? I guess Alymere, you'd be good to talk about this, but
Neff does not have roar, and that's why Hippocrate's monster and Neff abilities go off when they come back.
Got you. So maybe
this would not.
Maybe they should think about changing this Pan Forge Master to change its ability from roar to that, so that way you might be able to do some kind of cheeky combos with it, because as it stands, this just does not look like good value.
They need to make it a 4 mana 4/4 with this ability before I even start to look at it. Like, legitimately, it's just, no, this is just terrible.
Why does it say your other
nether
nether?
Itself? Yeah, it doesn't even give armor to itself.
Yeah, maybe it was supposed to be roar and an ability. I feel like someone dropped the ball on this.
I'm disenchanting this when I get it.
All right, so yeah, all right, Pan Forge Master, sorry. Gonna be a no from me, dog. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the Plague Talisman. This one is actually... Wait, is this the same one? I don't actually know if I've seen this one before. This is 4-cost death creature. I think
this is a 1/3 relic. It was a typo on the artwork.
Okay,
I think it's actually a 1/2, sadly.
A 1/2. Oh, okay. I've heard 1/3. Okay.
Okay, so it's a 1/2 or a 1/3 relic rare for death. Plague Talisman. After you damage a creature with this relic, if the creature survives, transform it into a 1/1 zombie. So go ahead and throw your ratings up for this one. All right, let's bring those up now. We have 4s from Prof and Nottamali, a 5 from FakeMews, 3 from Krumpy, 1 from Alymere. So a little bit below average here as far as a card. I guess Muse, you gave it a 5. Is there any insight as far as why you find at least some value in this?
Well, it's a lot like Slipblade, except it doesn't have Blitz, or I meant God Blitz, really. So I think it's an okay card. probably not something we're going to see a lot of play. And the fact that it doesn't have Blitz is a huge detriment because it can get ripped off by, Iron Tooth Goblin and the Relic Hate meta that we're currently in. Maybe there could be some synergies here where you can damage creatures potentially with the relic without attacking with the relic if there's cards that could do that down the line, but that's hoping for a lot, especially for death when this is more of a type of effect you would expect from war. It seems decent, but doesn't seem like something that's going to be super strong, except maybe outside of sealed.
That's fair. I guess Alymere, any reason for the 1?
It's unplayable.
All right. Anyone else? Any other insight on the Plague Talisman?
Just thought I looked it up and that it is a 1/2, which has it. I mean, maybe I would turn to a 3. So it certainly seems too slow.
Gotcha. Yeah, maybe look at making this one a little bit better then. All right, let's go ahead and run to the next one. We have an Amazon something. We have an Amazon Spellcatcher. This is a... All right, there we go. This is a 2/2 Blessed Ward creature. It is neutral. Go ahead and get your ratings in for this one. All right, looks like the consensus is in. Oh, all right. We got a 3 from TheProfesserf and FakeMews. We have a 4 from Nottamali, 7 from Krumpy, 5 from Alymere. Krumpy, why the 7? What do you like about this?
I like it. I mean, 2 mana 2/2 is not the stats you want, but I love the idea of ward on Amazons. At the moment, you've got Wizened Warlock, which is a 2 mana 2/2 with 3 mana 2/2 with ward. That's an Amazon and it does some ping damage. But I think this is just an easily accessible Amazon with ward, which is cool. And I think my rating also bets on Blessed being a half decent effect. If those Blessed effects are something like give this creature +1 health or, something along those lines, then I think it could be quite good. And Amazons need some protection from ward, so I'm hoping this is decent, but it's going to depend on that blast effect.
Gotcha. Yeah,
it all depends on the blessed effect for sure, because when you think about it, Dryer Sailweaver is a 1 mana 2/2 with ward. So you're paying 1 extra mana for blessed. Is blessed worth 1 extra mana? My assumption is no, but I could be wrong.
I think blessed might end up being worth half a mana. And I think the Amazon tag is half a mana. That it has half a mana value to me because ward allows it to stick on the board a little easier and stick around for those buffs.
Yeah, I'd have rated it a 2 instead of a 5 if it didn't have the Amazon tag. I do think the Amazon tag gains value over time, so eventually this will be a better card than it is now. Potentially.
With Krumpy system, you play to of being +1 health or whatever. It's going to boost reward.
Prof, you're breaking up a little bit there. Hello? I think we may have lost him. Professor. He's back. Are you there, Prof? He's beaming in, and sometimes the technology he designs, it can be a little faulty. So let's give it a second there. Oh, I hear typing.
Oh, you can hear me typing?
Okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna type in chat. I was just gonna say I agree with Krumpy. If Bless is something that when you play it, you get to delve up either +1 health, +1 attack, or something else. If you could trigger it and bring it down as a 2 mana 2/3 with ward, it's pretty good. I would play that.
All right, so some excitement around the tag. Crumpy, I liked your kind of assessment of the value, like how many mana points of value it was based on the Amazon tag and the Blessed. I think that's a good approach. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. We're going to have the... Where is it? Oh, all right, we have the Arc of... hold on, I gotta make this bigger. I can't read this. Arc of Amenmos. So this is a 6 cost. This is the very first card that was leaked from the set. This is a 6 cost, 3/7 structure, backline. After a friendly non-zombie creature dies, summon a 1/1 zombie. Roar and ability, summon 3 1/1 zombies. Very spooky. Yeah, this one actually has a 10 on spookiness rating. It's the spookiest arch of all time.
Which is funny because it's not an arch.
it's actually, I mean, maybe the arch is across the bridge. Maybe that's what's the end of the bridge. Anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at these ratings. We got a 7 from Prof, a 10 from Nottamali, 9 from Muse and KrumpyLumpkins, and an 8 from Alymere. Nottamali, you want to explain the 10 on this one?
I just like it a lot. I think it's a cool card. There's definitely going to be a lot of zombie interaction. And sort of what I was saying before, 6 cost with a high defense is pretty sweet. Yeah, that's it for me.
I think my rating system's a little harsher than everybody else's because 10 is reserved for like literally the best card in the game. 9 is like you have to be insane, so Enduring Shield and like Pyramid Warden level. And this is like the highest average card can achieve. This is what you want that other 6-drop backline in nature to be. Being able to, because it has Roar, 6 mana, 3/7, summon 3 things that protect you, and don't die to very many spells, and you get 3 more 1/1s every single turn. And if you're playing more structures which all have backline, this is literally the backbone of your deck. Even if you're not, just on stats alone, 6 mana, 6/10, that is good stats. I think good card. Best card so far for sure.
With Leech.
And they have Leech.
I just realized why. Oh, go ahead. I'll say it afterwards. Go ahead.
I'll go ahead and point out that this is 6 mana for 6/10 in stats on board. So stats for cost is huge, and it kind of snowballs if you can't deal with it immediately. You get 3 more 1/1 zombies every single turn. So this with Leech and with a god that's going to be taking a lot of damage with their god power, their best god power of the new expansion. So I think this is just very, very strong. I agree, similar with Alymere's ranking system. I'm not going to rank something a 10 unless it's completely busted. But this, to me, is absolute top tier. Probably going to see in most depth decks, particularly mid-range to control. Even aggro decks could run this because it floods the board.
Yeah, I'm going to spend a good few weeks trying to drop this and then the Harvester.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, this is... I like, when I first saw this card, I mean, I'm just going to say the same thing I say every time. Neff's Will, it actually doesn't have that much synergy because it has an ability. It does not work very well with Neff's Will. But one thing, some insight I just gained after hearing Alymere talk about how it, summons these zombies on Roar, I realized the reason why we have the picture that we do is because the arch is at the end of the bridge, but it constantly summons zombies. So the artist could only paint it from this far away, because if you get any closer, you die to zombies. So, you know what I mean? We couldn't actually have a painting of it otherwise. I did just realize that now.
All right, I will counter your point by saying, couldn't the artist just paint the zombies second?
Who got him?
Wait, what?
I'm just saying, paint the zombies after you get close enough to paint the arch.
But how would he get back with the art?
You paint the arch, shield. You retreat to a safe distance and paint the zombies.
So there's got to be kiting techniques. So you're assuming that our artist does know how to kite zombies, because I don't know if that's taught in art school.
Everybody plays Black Ops 1.
Fair. Okay, so moving on to the next one. Yeah, I think Arch of Amenmos is definitely a really cool one. I hope that out of all of those packs that I've been saving up over this drought, that I open at least one of those, and hopefully it's shiny. Could be the Neff of the set. We'll see. All right.
Yeah, I'll take a diamond one of those, one of my legendary packs, please.
Please. All right. So next we have, I think Prof knows about this one. This is Avaxorus, the Gamekeeper.
Oh no.
Or sorry, Avraxis, the Gamekeeper. I typoed this one. So this is a 2-cost neutral guild 1/1. Blessed Roar. Each player gains a random amount of favor up to 10. Deal 5 damage to the god, but belonging to the player who gained the most, or to each god in the case of a tie. All right. It's a lot. It's a lot there. Let's see. We almost have all of our ratings in. Waiting for one last one. All right, there it is. Let's go ahead and see what we have here. We have a 6 from the Professor, a 4 from Nottamali, Muse with the 1, Alymere, the Russian Judge with 0, and then KrumpyLumpkins with a 5. I guess let's go with Prof. You gave it a 6. Maybe because you revealed it. I don't know. I may have felt that way about the Manticore. So what's your reasoning for the 6 here?
Yeah, exactly that. I'm biased, but I just feel like I'm picturing this in an aggro deck, probably or something. I think gaining favor is huge. You could think of it as the Foreign Diplomat gives you favor, but I think gaining favor in an aggro deck is pretty big. Obviously, it's random, so there's that 50-50 on this card. I know that's why Muse gave it a 1. He likes to win 80% of his games. He doesn't want a coin flip. But I think the upside of this being able to gain favor and also being able to do to 5 damage, potentially to your god, I think it's worth it. Again, it's not gonna run in everything, but I think aggro decks can take a look at this card.
All right, I got a comment on this one. So first off, I think power level wise, if I didn't think this card should be like deleted from GU, I think this is actually like a 7 or an 8. And the reason I think that is because I'm pretty sure that when you gain favor, it ticks down order on your side of the board. So you could spam a bunch of order creatures and then just delete all the order, and all of a sudden your creatures are like no longer detained. And then maybe you randomly deal 5 damage to your opponent's face. This card has insane upside potential, and that's what you need in aggro decks. And even late game, like you top deck this while your opponent's got you on the ropes and has 4 HP. Like half the time, you just instantly win the game. But I gotta give it the 0 because this is the worst card design I have ever seen in GU. Maybe worse than Demogorgon. Randomness on this scale is meant for Hearthstone, in my opinion. All right, that's all I got.
My point is, this a 2-mana 1/1 that affects both players equally. Why would you play a card like this? It's absolutely horrendous. I mean, it's just as likely to benefit your opponent as it is to benefit you. So I have no reason to ever play something like this. It's just terrible.
I think Deception's going down the lines of like, having these kinds of cards that appear to benefit both players, like we had with Lady Marcella, and your opponent getting 2 deadlies. I'm wondering how much Blessed and Order and all these kinds of things are going to allow you to swing those cards in your favor reliably. I agree with Alymere. I don't like the design of this. I like Heads or Tails. I think that's a great card in an aggro situation. It's not as RNG as something like this. It's essentially a face damage spell, but this is this is totally random. It's just going to come down to how well Deception is able to turn that randomness in their favor.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add in is that even though it's affecting both players, it's still on your turn, so you have the initiative, and I think that it does swing your way a little bit more than what FakeMews is talking about.
Sorry, just moving this.
I want to remind you, it's a 2-mana 1/1.
It's got Blessed.
Yeah,
I don't think it's like a 1.5 mana 1/1.
I can draw a card with Frumentari.
All right. Yeah, I do think I feel like, I mean, I don't think this is really anything new, but I feel like we just get such weird mixed signals from the development team on with the direction that they're going with things. But yeah, there's some good comments there about the randomness factor here. Yeah, I'm not so sure about this one either. This is just like a lot of these cards I've been noticing. There's so much to unpack on them. There's like new keywords and then like a slew of effects on each card. So I think it's some of these may be a little unnecessarily complicated, especially like I said before with them trying to, I guess, simplify the god powers and kind of removing stuff. Like we're going down from 4 to 3 god powers, I believe. But then they're printing cards that have like entire paragraphs and multiple effects. So yeah, not so sure about that one. But any other major comments on Avraxis, the gamekeeper, before we move on?
Yeah, one more thing. I think
ahead.
this card was designed for casuals, and cards designed for casuals that turn out to be powerful enough to play in meta decks are the worst kind of cards designed for casuals. So if this ends up in a meta deck and we're seeing like finals of tournaments decided by Avraxis coin flips, that's not where we want to be.
Yeah, definitely be careful for that one. Nottamali, do you have something you wanted to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really great point. I would say that it almost reminds me of what you're talking about with all these like super dense cards. Reminds me of like League of Legends, where you had these like noob eater champions, where they were fairly strong, and if you knew more about the champion than your opponent, you won. And I feel like a card like this, sort of what was said before in terms of like, there's these downsides, yes, no, maybe. Whoever knows more about the card has an advantage, so the asymmetry of information really stands out for this one and the Marcella, and I think there's a few more that are along those lines, like Harvester. Looking at you, Krumpy. It's not easy to play, but once you can play it, not only are you going to be good, but sometimes your opponent, with the Harvester example, like sometimes your opponent's going to hit you in the face and not realize that they've procced the Harvester, which is just something that's a challenge from the design team to effectively communicate and to make the game fun to play. Like, I guess the first time it sucks, but after that, when you know what to do, you do get a feedback that's positive. So yeah, that's just my only other thought on it.
Y'all remember Yogg Sauron? This is Yogg Sauron, but for this game.
That was the worst card ever.
I
mean,
that's
not like
saying.
Not like bad, but it's just flip a coin. Like seriously, It was just terrible.
You guys are off topic.
I think it's fair though to bring up some comparisons to other like trading card games and talk about like what was really heavily disliked and kind of warn the development team to like not go down that path. So hopefully there's some good feedback and they listen to this. We'll see if they watch it or take any of this in consideration. But yeah, I think we'll go ahead and move on to the next one there. Definitely a controversial card here, and yeah, let's see, where are we? Just a massive list of cards. Okay, the next one, bears. We have the Rabid Bear. I like this card because it's a bear. But yeah, let's get those ratings in on this one. I guess I should probably read what it is. This is a 3-cost, 3/4 wild creature. Roar, if you are frenzied, give this creature +1 strength and confused. If you're frenzied. Otherwise not confused. Still wild. Alright, looks like the ratings are in. We got 7s from Prof, FakeMews, and Alymere, and then an 8 from Krumpy and a 5 from Nottamali. Let's hear, Krumpy, you gave it an 8. You're fond of the Rabid Bear. Can we hear why?
Yeah, I think I think wild synergies are going to be pretty big with the next set. There's a lot going for wild already, and I think there's going to be a lot more added, including this card that influences that. Like this is a 3 mana 3/4. We see that elsewhere. It has the wild tag, which gives it extra in my books. And it also has a little bit of flexibility in that you can either play this as a naked 3/4 wild without confused, which is strong, or if you're ahead and you're frenzied, you can go ahead and make this a 3-mana 4/4 with confused. So it's like a baby rhino essentially. So it has flexibility. It's strong for a wild card. Yeah, it's gonna be a pretty staple common from this set, in my opinion.
Yeah, I really like that it's a 3-cost nature creature too. I do feel currently like when I'm building decks for nature, 3 is a little bit of an awkward mana point. There's like the ornery goat, which is pretty solid. It's decently solid, but it's just we could use more good nature 3-drops. So I do like that it comes in at 3 mana. I guess Nottamali giving it a 5. Any reasoning on the 5?
No, I like Krumpy's points. Probably would bump it up a little bit, but specifically the point about the flexibility. I do like the idea of because obviously I run Gloam decks on occasion, so being able to choose to do that is pretty sweet. Otherwise, it really to me feels a little bit heavy-handed, where we are pushing towards either you do. Sorry about that. Either we do Amazon tribe or a wild tribe. So it's like you have your 3/4 wild or you have your 3/4 Amazon. I just kind of rubs me the wrong way, so I gave it a little bit of a lower score.
Gotcha. Any other?
I actually really like the design of the card. It gives you the option to make it a 3-mana 3/4 or 3-mana 4/4 with confused. I like the wild tag. I think it's a simple card, and I would like more cards like this. It gives you a decision to make, and it gives you maybe an opportunity to outplay your opponents if you play this card correctly and they don't.
All right. Sorry, messing with my camera stuff, but yeah, I think that's good on the bear. Thank you all for sharing those points. Let's go ahead and move on to the next card here. We have next we have the Blazing Behemoth. The Blazing Behemoth is a 7-cost neutral wild 7/6 with blessed, blitz, and backline. Burn 1. They really went all out on the alliteration here. I'm not even gonna say it. It's so bad. All right, let's get those ratings in. All right, looks like those are in there. So we're gonna get 5s from Prof and Nottamali, 1 from Muse and Alymere, and a 3 from Krumpy. I guess let's go Alymere. Why the 1?
Okay, well, first off, it's not a 7/6, it's a 7/5. And best possible case scenario, I think blessed, if it gives you divine, or not divine, if it gives you protected, and this is a 7-mana 7/6 with protected, blitz, backline, and burn 1, the card is borderline playable at that point, and it doesn't sound like blessed is going to be able to give you protected. So I just think stats to mana is awful. Just look at this card, then look at Demogorgon, then look at this card, and be sad.
It's Juggernaut with less meme potential.
I agree with that.
Anyone else? Any comments on?
Just hoping that Blessed has a lot of different flexible options.
Yeah, right. I gave this a 5. I understand that people will compare this to Demogorgon because they see the 7, but I'm thinking of this for players that don't have access to Demogorgon. I think it's a slightly better Juggernaut because it has the bless upside. It has confused, and I agree the burn is a detrimental. But I just feel like if we're not, obviously we're in the world of Demogorgon, so I'm looking at this for players that doesn't have Demogorgon.
I mean, if you don't have Demogorgon, just play Archmonian Hydra or the Godblitz Goat. Like, either is miles ahead of this thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there any wild synergy outside of nature? Like, is there any reason for a non-nature card to have wild?
I know of.
All right, well, yeah, so not super stoked about this one, getting a little below average ratings here, but let's go ahead and move on. We have the next one is the Blood Armor. I love the art on this little creepy gremlin here. I guess it's a vampire gremlin. I don't know. Let me know in your answers that you write down if you think it's a gremlin or a vampire. So it is a 1 cost. Set one of your creature's armor to 1. Deal 2 damage to your god. Set one of your creature's armor to 1. Deal 2 damage to your god. Right. All right. We have some people putting in the effort to draw this with a pen with a mouse. So we have a 1 from Muse, Prof, and Ali, and then a 2 from Nottamali and Krumpy, and both Prof and Nottamali going with Goblin. I guess anyone any statements on the value of this card?
Next card, please.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, not much to say here.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and go to the next one. We have Blood and Bone. This is a 1 cost. Okay, this is a 1 cost nature spell that has deal 1 damage to your opponent's god and add a random nature card to your hand. All right, ratings are in. We have 3 from Krumpy and Prof, 5 from Nottamali, 1 from Muse and Alymere. Why the low ratings? Why only a 1 with Frenzy?
You know how bad random nature cards are? I mean, this is just spending a card to get a random nature card. I know it might proc Frenzy. Well, it's not that hard to proc Frenzy based on the other cards we've seen. So, and this just looks like trash to me.
Yeah, I'll just disagree. I mean, I don't think that Frenzy's necessarily going to proc from creature damage. I think that it might have to be a spell or a relic or potentially something like Overkill. At the end of the day, this will reliably proc Frenzy because it was the first card that they showed, and they basically said this is going to be very important, doing damage to your opponent's god. I mean, maybe if it's just not that hard, then it's worth less, but this was the flagship card that they showed, and I think that it's probably a combo card that is definitely in their design space in their mind, and that that's why I'm rating it highly.
My response is like, is Frenzy even that good? Like, do we need a card that specifically procs it? Are the other cards with Frenzy good enough to warrant playing this? In my opinion, no.
So one thing I had a thought of too is I do believe that order will be counted down. Like, you'll reduce order on your creatures every time you gain favor. So if you can gain favor by playing Blood and Bone, you could reduce the order that has been given to one of your creatures, or all, however on your creatures. So maybe potentially could be a way to get that order off if all your creatures are locked down from certain spells. The thought.
Face spells give favor, do they?
Nah, they don't.
No.
Really? Oh, okay. Never mind then. Scratch that one. I do know how this game works, I think. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Not much love for the Blood and Bone here. We have the Cage Berserker. This is a 5 cost war 2/2 Viking with Blitz. At the end of your turn, if you are frenzied while this card is in your hand, give it +2/+2. All right, ratings are in. We have 7s and 8s across the board. Seems like pretty high ratings. Anyone feel pretty strongly about this card or anything you want to share?
It scares me because if you're hypothetically able to proc it the frenzied on turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3, on turn 4, you could pip out an 8/8 with Blitz. That frightens me.
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Okay, go ahead. You.
No, I was just going to compare this to Miyato's Daughter, for example. So it's an Amazon buff or a +2/+2 with Blitz. So and that's 5 mana. So that would be comparable to having Frenzied once while this is in your hand. Having it more than that is huge. Like a 5 mana 6/6 with Blitz is really strong, and then anything over that is scary. So yeah, that's my take.
I actually think this might be better than the Arch. This is I think this is the most powerful card we've seen. This is easily like kept in hand on every mulligan, and probably an 8/8. You're only playing this in the aggro decks, and I'm thinking with how powerful War is right now, like imagine dropping this thing. Like, okay, so turn 1 you like play a dude. Turn 2 you play Enduring Shield. Turn 3 you play a dude. Turn 4 you coin out an 8/8 Cage Berserker and give it Divine Shield or give it Protected. You can't lose.
Let's hope that they figure out how to nerf Enduring Shield before the set releases. Like before the set releases, I mean like next ranked weekend, please.
I'll just comment on
the scariest card we've seen.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think for me the big thing is like we're losing intense training, and one of and Chosen One and a couple other God Powers. I know we're going to talk about it again later, but to me, this sort of is in line with what their response to that was, which was there will be cards that support that style of play outside of the God Power. The God Power was a crutch to get that gameplay, and that to me, Cage Berserker seems like a really excellent example of saying like, well, yeah, you don't have intense training anymore, but here's a card that will reward you in the same way that intense training did, if you play by the flavor of the set.
Yeah, I mean, look how ripped this Berserker is. You can tell he has been intensely training, so they went ahead and put the God Power into this card specifically. But yeah, I think some interesting points there. I'm excited to talk about those God Power changes later too. I know that those have been quite controversial, especially the Chosen One change. So let's go ahead and jump to the next one. We have the Cobra Scepter. It's the Snake Scepter. This is a Deception 2/1 relic. I'm sorry, this is a Deception 2 cost 0/1 relic. So another like permanent relic. It doesn't have its durability decreased. When your opponent draws a card, deal 2 damage to their god. All right, ratings are in quick on this one. Let's see what we got here. We got a 6 from Prof, ranging up to a 9 from Alymere. And
that was an accident. I didn't erase my other rating.
Oh, okay. Never mind. We have Symmetry on the sides, and then 8s from Nottamali Muse and a 7 from Krumpy. Yeah, this is a pretty interesting one. Anyone have any thoughts on how this affects, I guess, kind of like hand manipulation or anything? Any points on this one you'd like to share?
I think this is gonna go for it.
It's a scary card in aggro. I mean, think about it. A Skull Scepter, how valuable that can be in death. Now, this is basically Deception's version of Skull Scepter, except that you're guaranteed to do a minimum of 2 points of damage a turn, which is ridiculous. Even if they kill it immediately, you're going to deal 2 damage to the opposing god. And if they can't kill it immediately, you've got cards of Deception like Stack the Deck, which can generate insane value. And you've got just keeping it on the board and dealing 2 damage a turn in an aggro deck would be really effective too. I think this can be a win condition in control Deception that's going to try to make you overdraw. And I can also think it could be a win condition in just aggro Deception with Shadow of Letheanons, just getting passive damage in.
All right. Yeah, that's interesting stuff. I do think that, like, when I first saw it, I was just thinking about the Hammer Nip, but I didn't really think about, I mean, they're going to take 2 damage every turn once this thing comes down. And there isn't even that dependency of the creatures dying. But yeah, let's move on. We're probably going to keep it to about 1 comment per card so we can just roll through these. We have a lot. This is running a bit longer than anticipated. So next card is Defend the Ramparts. This is a 3-cost magic spell. Deal 2 damage to 2 different enemy creatures. If you control a structure, deal 3 damage instead. So a little bit of synergy with that weird structure we saw from before. Let's go ahead and get those ratings in. All right, we have a 5 from Prof, 6 from Nottamali. Pretty average across the board, a little bit higher than average from Krumpy. Krumpy, any comments, or does anyone have any primary comments on maybe some synergies with this one?
I think just with the amount of magic, I mean, we haven't obviously seen all of the cards, but we've seen them from the spreadsheet, but like there's a lot of structures. I think it's going to be very easy for Magic to put up a structure. Using Portable Fortress, that thing doesn't really leave the board all that easily, and then this is potentially 3 mana to deal 6, so it could be really strong in Magic being able to keep control of the board while protecting themselves, and building up a really strong board of structures. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. I think this would be a staple in a deck that aims to do that.
Yeah, hopefully the structure dream will be alive. All right, let's go on to the next one. We have this one is Demetrios. Now, I know this one has been talked about quite a bit. This final draft that it makes is a scaling. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is like a scaling in value spell that increases by 1 damage and 1 card drawn from 1 to 5. So I don't know if the mana cost increases with it, but I do know it like deals like from 1 to 5 damage, and then the amount of damage you deal, that's the same amount of cards you draw. So I think that is correct. All right, we have ratings are in. We have so it looks like about an 8 average, but Nottamali giving it a 10. Nottamali, any insights or reasoning behind the 10 there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm being a little generous with these cards, but I like the card a lot. I think it would be fun to play to try to keep it alive. The fact that it scales up is pretty awesome. If nothing else, it's a card replacement. Works really well in rat decks. I can say that it just seems like it has a lot of different applications. And if you could pull off the win with it, that would just be so cool.
Got you. Some more of just like a personal preference / flavor rating on that one. Anyone?
I still think it's
just bring up. Someone brought up the other day the potential for Portal Wranglers copying this card, getting a whole lot of like 1-cost spells in hand that deal damage and draw cards. It has the potential to synergize with those really well, and I'm interested to see how that plays out.
Oh, good. That's what we needed. We needed more Portal Wrangler synergies. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Demetrios, potentially very toxic, or maybe really fun.
I'm buying 10. The card's insane.
All right. Well, I hope I open a dime one of those as well then. So the next card up is the Demolitions Expert. This is a Deception 2/3 creature, order 3. When this creature loses order, destroy a random enemy creature with frontline. Actually solidifying some of my views on how order works. All right, it looks like we have the ratings in. Okay, I'm gonna show this and we'll on. Oh, did I? Okay, hold on. Oh my gosh. Okay, anyone have anything they want to share on this one? Go ahead.
I apologize to all Pyramid Wardens. That's about it.
Yep.
Very definition of average.
Yeah,
Good
I think
tech.
I think this is pretty much a pyramid board encounter, right? So what happens is, I think that Order 3 will be removed from being able to just have any source of damage, anything that could generate favor, hit the opposing god. So, I mean, it seems like a really useful tool for 2 mana for Deception. But yeah, getting 7s across the board, except for the Russian Judge, giving it a 5. But we expected that. I think it is a fairly useful card, though.
Not selling those lads, Cargus, no way.
Sell the lads. Hashtag sell the lads. Okay, not happening though. If you do, you have to give up the emote. It's part of the contract. All right, let's go to the next one. What do we have here? We have the Divine Archon. Oh, you know what? I should have had the reveal with the audio for this one, so everyone could have heard it in its glory. But this was Alymere's reveal, so yeah, let's get some ratings in on this one. And we are pretty close to the end here, just so you know. We have 5 more cards, and then we have God Powers, it looks like. Or 6 more cards than God Powers, 2 of which were announced today. All right, so we have, looks like around an average of 4 FakeMews with the 2 Mews. Why the 2?
Doesn't look that great. You need to get 2 buffs to get value out of it. 5 mana, 2/2 comes into play. Maybe you can trigger 1 blessing if you've got other things. I don't know how easy it's going to be to trigger a blessing, but you need to trigger it twice. And I think your opponent's just going to remove it before you can do that.
All right, anyone, either Alymere or Professor, if you guys giving it a 5, any thoughts on maybe synergies or thoughts on Blessed?
5 mana, comes in as a 4/4, gets a Blessed ability. You can buff it 1 more time. It seems pretty good for a 5-drop. Once again, I think pretty average. Give it a 5.
Yeah, I gave it a 5, thinking that if its own blessing effect triggers its own, kind of like the roar. If it's blessed, so if that triggers it, at least it's a 5 mana 4/4, which I think
if it doesn't
makes
trigger
it
itself, it's a 1.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's fair. All right, let's go on to the next one. We have Einar. Now, this card, I haven't... What was it? I think I read this one. I think this was Gaston, I believe, revealed this one. But this is a 6-cost Viking Legendary. And it has, at the end of your turn, if you are frenzied, your strongest creature attacks the weakest enemy creature. All right, what are the thoughts here from the panel?
Just gonna say I like it.
Solid, not amazing.
Yeah, pretty good. About on power level for what you would expect a legendary to be, I think.
Gotcha. So no one feeling too enthusiastic about it, but yeah, maybe some Valka vibes, just not really gonna get played. So
it's a Viking.
I think it's good. Yeah, Viking. It probably behaves similar to an underbrush boar in a sense that, you know, it's going to go for the weakest enemy creature if you're dropping it naked. If you do manage to play it with a stronger creature than this on the board, then, you know, there could be some cool plays to be made. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Sounds good. All right. Let's see what else we got here. We have the Frostbitten Channeler. Now, this is the card that really made me think that the two thoughts here, that either it was the amount of damage that needed to be done to lose Order, but based on everything else we've seen, I am pretty confident that it's favor generation getting absorbed. Like we have a couple of reviews up, 2 more to go. All right, they're in. So we have, they counted in the wrong order. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ranging from Alymere up to Muse. Any thoughts on synergies or anything important to say about this one?
If we're sticking to the school of thought that Order makes it so the card can't attack, this is just a 2-mana. 2-mana card that gives you like a pseudo emblem of spell damage +1, but dies immediately. So I'm equating this card to 2 mana, you gain spell damage +1 for a turn, and that's pretty awful.
I'm viewing Order differently. I think that Order is probably a minor impact on the card. So I'm looking at it as a 2 mana 3/2 with spell boost +1, which is okay. It's not terrible. It's similar, and maybe you can use this with other cards to generate insane spell boost turns. But I don't think it's great by any means.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, it looks like still a lot of deliberation on what exactly Order does and how it functions. But let's move on from that one. We have, I think, probably one of the more exciting ones that was revealed simply because it's a pangolin. We have the giant pangolin, 8/1 with armor 6, blitz confused, 7-cost nature creature. It is 8/1. So really interesting one here. Look at that. So just a giant pangolin. Not to be confused with the giant penguin, which would also be awesome, and you should print that next set. All right, so looks like we have. Okay, Muse is in the middle of writing. Still, we have one from Alymere, and then looks like about a 6 average from the other side of the board. Alymere, do you disagree with the general consensus of armor, or what are your thoughts here?
I think they really love printing Juggernauts. Juggernaut is unplayable. This card is unplayable. Confused just ruins cards. You can't play a 7-mana card that's only 50% to hit the thing you want it to.
I just like it as a Demogorgon counter. I imagine it just absorbs all the damage from demo and they don't get any leech. That's really the only utility I see out of this.
I think the way that if armor works the way I think it does, if you're going to kill this by damage, you'll have to deal 7 damage at once to this minion. That's going to make it really hard to remove. With that being said, I think cards like Blightbar Bomb will deal with it pretty easily, but at least you'll get 1 attack off with it. I think it'll maybe borderline playable, but at 7 mana, it's tough because there's a lot of good cards at 7.
Yeah, I agree with the rating. If the armor is, I think Muse and I have the same idea of what armor does. They have to do 7 in 1 shot, so I think that's pretty good.
All right, so a little bit of love for the pangolin, just not from Alymere. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. We got we already did that one. Blazing Behemoth trying to come back into the list. Get out of here. It's enough alliteration for one day. These are the last 2 cards. These were just recently revealed, I think, on the live stream earlier today. We have Cadmos. This is the son of Lysander. It is a frontline armor 1. After this creature is attacked, give +1 armor to the chosen one. Ironically, Roar, a random 6 mana creature in your deck becomes the chosen one. So Asterius becomes the chosen one. All right, let's see what we got. We got some reviews coming in right now. Bam. All right, so we have a question mark from Prof. So I'll have to make this a little bit smaller. I can barely read that. I was not going to take the time to get rid of that border. And we have an 8 from Nottamali, and then a 5 from Muse. Seems average. KrumpyLumpkins with the 7, Alymere with the 3. Prof, why so confused?
Yeah, I just don't know if they're trying to get rid of Chosen One or not. I know they said they want to get rid of the God Power because they did not want an easy way to buff it, but the Chosen One cards still work. But I don't know. It just feels weird because I mean I was playing with the Chosen One God Power in effect, so I just feel like what are they doing? But anyways, I do agree. It looks like Muse.
I think if you take Chosen One out of it, I know everyone's gutted about losing Chosen One God Power, but I mean, if we get cards that continue to support Chosen One, I think it could be quite cool to run Chosen One decks with things like Heal or Summon Acolyte, and still getting the benefit of the Chosen One. This is essentially a 4-mana 2/5 with Frontline. After it's attacked, it's buffing a creature in your deck that has the potential to be Asterius or or Lysander or something cool along those lines. It's an Olympian, which I like as well. I think there's going to be a fair bit of Olympian synergy to get out of this. So I think it's a cool card, and I'm interested to see it play out, despite the fact that the Chosen One God Power's gone.
Yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of fun making Chosen One still a thing.
Yeah, I did want to bring up something that was just touched on was like what Nottamali was saying earlier about the intense training change, where it's like they're going to try to bake that into creatures. I do like the direction of putting some of the functions into the cards and then taking it out of the god powers. And honestly, long term, it seems a lot more viable, so they don't kind of pigeonhole themselves into certain abilities. And I think making that change now and then staying away from, potentially staying away from putting those abilities into god powers and just baking them into the cards more, could help the health of the game long term, but also it could be maybe a little less interesting. So that'll be interesting to see. Yeah. So let's go ahead and go to the last card, and then we'll talk about the god power changes before we take off. The last card is the Ravenous Chimera. Ravenous Chimera. Look at that. So awesome. Not because it is half lion. Okay, it is because it's half lion. Oh, I should probably read what it does. This is a 5-cost war Olympian. It's an Olympian Chimera. Not sure how that works, but it is blessed Twin Strike 5/3. And it looks amazing. It reminds me of the statue I didn't win in the Mythic Raffle. All right, let's go ahead and reveal what we have here. We have a 3 from Professor, Nottamali with the 5 and also sleeping, Muse with the 6, Krumpy with the 4, and Alymere with the 1. Any major points from any of you guys on this card?
Onslaught abuses Twin Strike, so that's it.
Yeah.
Why do they keep giving 5-drops 3 health? I think like this suffers from the same problem the Mana Core did. It's just, I mean, if 1, it's just really bad if it comes down and doesn't do anything and then just dies to a 3-attack creature. But it also just dies to Demogorgon. Like, that is awful.
I mean, it comes down to how effective Blessed is, and I think this could only be viable in Onslaught. But Onslaught will be around in the new expansion, so cards with Twin Strike like this are going to be considered an Onslaught.
Yeah, I was actually under the impression that Onslaught was going away, and I was much happier. It's like they're like taking the most boring archetype and keeping it, and then getting rid of all the exciting ones. So interesting decisions from the dev team there. I may or may not feel quite strongly about it. But yeah, I think if there's nothing else, let's go ahead and go through these god power changes real quick. I know that this is probably fairly hot topic. Yeah, so first one is the god powers for death. I don't know how we want to do the ratings for these. I think we can just discuss these ones. But yeah, any comments? Did anyone want to say anything about these changes specifically? We're getting 2 mana for Undying Wish is give Afterlife summon a 1/1 imp to one of your creatures. Blood Ritual 2 cost, destroy a creature with 1 health and heal for 1. And then Neferu's Sacrifice for 2 is draw a card and take 2 damage directly from Hearthstone. So yeah, I think we're losing 1 god power for all gods. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, maybe if we skip the scoring on god powers and just talk about them.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, let's do that.
I think it's going to be dependent on how the cards shake out, how the meta shakes out. Obviously, for me, Neferu's Sacrifice is insanely strong, as it has been in Hearthstone. I think it'll be even stronger in this game with Death wanting to deal damage to itself. Blood Ritual, I think, is going to get a fair bit of value in terms of just being able to destroy a creature with 1 health. I think there's going to be situations where that happens a fair bit. And Undying Wish, I don't have an opinion on at the moment. I think it's just been weakened to bring it in line with some of the other god powers from other gods.
I think Neferu's Sacrifice is the best god power in the game now, and they nerfed Undying Wish for some reason. How do you keep Onslaught and you nerf Undying Wish? Because that was a real problem we had.
Well, they technically nerfed Onslaught. You don't get the +1 attack anymore, but I agree. Neferu's Sacrifice is ridiculous. It's going to be a problem, and I hope that it becomes a problem so early that they nerf it immediately. The other two god powers are almost both trash. I don't see Blood Ritual being used at all in this state. It's just too undependable, and I don't see Undying Wish. Nerfing that was completely unnecessary. It was fine the way it was. And also, I like the fact that Undying Wish gave souls before. Now it doesn't, and I like potential synergies with being able to control that. Neferu's Sacrifice is going to be insanely strong, and Board Wipe is going to be insanely strong, and Zoo is just going to be insanely strong, and it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment, and the changes that I know I've talked about this a lot, but the changes with the god powers to make them more simple, and then printing some of the cards that they have. I mean, is it completely different teams working on the balancing for god powers and the cards? It's just so like contradicts their own statements so much on the direction they're trying to go. So it's like we're kind of losing that nuance and that depth to the god powers, but we're just getting cards that just have paragraphs of effects printed on them. So yeah, I don't know. Not super happy with it, but let's go ahead and take a look at the next one, which is Deception. Looks like 2 for Thievery. It is a 2 cost, and they're basically just bringing Thievery down to 2 from 3. Or wait, hold on. No, I'm confusing this. I'm not going to speculate on this one. It's all changed. Thievery's 2 cost. Add a random 1 mana card from your opponent's domain to your hand. Flip is now draw 2 cards and then shuffle 2 back into your deck. And I'm pretty sure Orfeo's Distraction is just a renamed cheat. So, any comments on this one? On these ones?
A flip is going to make Control Deception really, really strong. The fact that they're going to be able to manipulate their hand super, super easy and basically draw anything they want. It reminds me of current Magic, what is it, 4C. They're just going to be really strong. So Control Deception really gets a good tool. Orfeo's Distraction, of course, is just cheat, so it's going to be solid. Thievery might still be a meme.
Yeah, I agree. Flip, it's going to be really strong. I kind of like the, generally speaking, going from 4-3 god powers, I feel has been, just pretty annoying at the end of the day. I just feel like I have less things that I can do in the game. But hopefully as we get more sets, that will sort of turn around. I think that for Deception, this is actually like a pretty good mix of things. Like I could see myself playing 3 different decks with these 3 different abilities, so that's kind of cool. The Death one, I really would only most likely play the most powerful one. So yeah, that's my thought.
All right, let's go over to Light. We have Heal is getting reduced from Heal 3 to Heal 2, same mana cost. Summon Acolyte doesn't change, and then Lysander's Honor is now give -1 strength to an enemy creature. Any thoughts on these ones?
I think what happened here was whoever was in charge of reducing the numbers here reduced the wrong 3. So they were supposed to reduce Summon Acolyte to 2 mana to be in line with the rest of the god powers, but they accidentally reduced Heal to Heal 2 instead of Heal 3.
Fair assessment. Fair assessment.
Two mana for a 2/2 would have been way overpowered.
Well, it should have been a 1/2, I think, but yeah.
I think the only thing you're really going to choose from this list is Summon Acolyte. I don't see Heal being as good anymore as it was, and Acolyte just takes the cake.
Lysander's Honor will let you take it down to a 0-cost attack now. That's just a slight buff, but we're losing the favorite generation.
Yeah, I don't understand why they nerfed Heal and not Summon Acolyte, when Summon Acolyte was the better god power by basically all metrics for Light at the moment. It just doesn't make much sense to me. Nerfing Heal makes no sense. I was fine with it as it was. I thought it was a balanced god power, so I don't get making it basically unplayable.
Yeah, I
Can't even heal your opponent's death.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was referring to in the beginning when Alymere said like they reduced the wrong 3. I think bringing Acolyte down to 2 would be too powerful, but I don't think that there was a reason to reduce heal to 2 at all. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like yeah, I don't know. If anything, it took a specific deck type where you could heal a little bit bigger creatures, but really it was just kind of taken in certain matchups and yeah, I don't understand the need for that change at all either. And I think
they're trying to sorry, if they're trying to bring down the power level of all god powers, then I don't mind the change to heal, but it doesn't make sense if you're leaving Acolyte as it is.
Yeah, but if they're trying to lower the god power level, why did they do Nephros sacrifice? Everybody knows from any HS background that's the best god power over there.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of rhyme or reason in a lot of this. It still seems untested.
Like in high school when you like copy your paper from a website but you don't read it before you copy it.
Yeah, that's what we're getting.
All right, but yeah, and for me, Lysander's Honor seems like just absolutely useless. But I mean, make it 1 cost or something. Like this is just, I don't know. All right, let's go ahead. We're almost done with these. We have magic now. So Mage Bolt, 2 costs, deal 1 damage. Clear Mind, Lost Protected, and Palace Genius, probably the most exciting god power change, I think. Add a random 1 mana magic spell to your hand for 2. Any thoughts here?
So Palace's Genius can draw the 1 mana, deal 5, draw 5, right? That's what I'm getting from this. Apparently that is possible, and that is fucking scary. Excuse me.
Yeah, I hadn't thought
Bless
about that. But the Aether that summons a 1 cost 2. Yeah, that's a good point. That now those are will be in the game.
I feel like Magic is kind of lost
go
with
face.
these changes. Mage Bolt can go face. That's true. I don't know. Yeah, Mage Bolt seems like kind of okay, but Clear Mind's awful. Palace's Genius is maybe okay. I just don't see any plan for Magic other than pick Mage Bolt. Like Palace's Genius, like what do? You don't have any removal then. You get a bunch of 1 mana magic spells for 2. They're really 3 mana. Like you're paying 3 mana for every 1 mana magic spell you want to cast. I don't know. I feel like Mage Bolt's the only choice here.
It comes down to the RNG of what you draw as well. Like if you're picking up Lost in the Depths and stuff, that's not going to be helpful. But you're picking up 1 mana, deal 5, draw 5, then you win the game. So
I mean, you can kind of equate it to Forage then, except it only gets you 1 mana stuff, and that does not seem very good.
You can get a bunch of 1 mana spells and then maybe draw a Rat Rod and then have burst turns. But aside from weird combo things like that, I still think Mage Bolt is solid enough that it will just probably be the primary god power here.
Yeah, I think I agree with that stuff. I just think the Palace's Genius is going to be the most fun. So I don't know. I give it a high fun rating. I'm excited to like just try that out, but balance wise, not so sure on it. All right, let's go to nature. I know a couple of nature players here. We have changes to Animal Bond is now only going to summon the Badger, the friendless Badger. It no longer has a best friend. Flourish is give 1 strength and regen to one of your creatures until the next turn. And then Selena's lead for 2 is add a 2/1 Oak Spear Guard to your hand, which is just a 2/1, but it is also an Amazon.
Flourish goes from meme to best god power nature has, in my opinion. I think that it's going to generate a lot of value and be particularly strong in Zoo Nature. Animal Bond's okay. I don't see Selena's lead being, if any, use unless you've got some weird combo Amazon deck that probably doesn't really exist yet until they come out with additional Amazon synergies.
Yeah, I don't see being able to drop Amazons and make use of them in a combo format at all. So I don't particularly like Selena's lead. I think Animal Bond's still going to be good because it's producing you a wild creature. So if you're playing wild decks, that'll be your go-to. But then again, Flourish allows you to trade up pretty well, and you get to choose which creature that goes on. So it's essentially making the most of the trade. So Flourish is probably the top pick, with Animal Bond being used in wild synergies.
One thing that would be cool.
And also one cool thing.
Okay.
One cool thing I forgot to mention with Flourish that I was thinking is if you've got a damaged creature and your opponent doesn't have anything, you can just Flourish, attack, and you're going to be healing up your damaged minion already. So it's got other utilities besides trading as well. I just think it's going to be pretty strong.
Yeah, I was gonna say as well, you could use the Flourish, and then you could cast something like Wildfire to get a little bit extra benefit off of the Wildfire if you're a little bit later into the game. Flourish does seem really cool here. Selena's Lead, when I read that, like you're spending 2 mana. Like the Oak Spear Guard isn't even free. You still have to pay another mana to cast it. So I'm putting 2 1s in my hand for 2 that I have to spend another mana to cast. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. But like, yeah, it's not like there's some like big God Blitz combo that you can do with Amazons from your hand. So that one's just strange for me. All right, let's go last but definitely not least, especially if you've seen the leaderboards lately. We have War with these changes. Onslaught is losing the +1 attack. Slayer is going to be deal 2 damage to your opponent's god directly, and Valka's Presence for 2 is now summon a 1/1 Valknir Raider. Does anyone know what the Valknir Raider is, like stat-wise? Is it just a 1/1 or
1/1?
It's a
Viking.
Viking.
It says 1/1.
Yeah, or I meant like, did it have anything else on it? Because like apparently the zombies have leech, but that's not printed on there. So I guess ability-wise is what I meant. But yeah, so it's just a 1/1 Viking.
Yeah, I think it's Viking tab.
Gotcha.
Viking tag. I like the Slayer option. A little bit of smork there, possibility. Krumpy's probably excited about that.
Yeah, I like Slayer. I just don't think they can get War quite right. Onslaught still being there is just, I've been very vocal about it, and will continue to be, because it's a problem in my mind. I liked the idea of having a relic-based god power, but I don't think they're able to find a way that works well. So maybe Slayer's like it's a decent interim measure for the aggro kind of space. I would rather run that than Volka's Presence.
Yeah, Slayer, the copy and pasted from Hearthstone's Hunter. You're gonna have some fun hyper aggro face decks that don't require too much thought to play. Volka's Presence to me just seems worthless. They're taking away Enrage, which I love. For that, it's kind of sad.
Yeah, I don't know where Enrage went. Like, why did they take it away? It could have easily replaced Valka's Presence here. I guess you'd never pick Slayer at that point, but Enrage was way more interactive because of the fact that you could cast it on your opponent's minions. It led to a lot of thought, I think. And personally, I'm okay with Onslaught being in the game. I think Onslaught's actually a cool god power. It gives way to a new type of control deck that not very many other games have the ability to play. It was too powerful though, so I'm glad they removed the +1 attack from it.
I mean, since they just pasted Hearthstone god powers over all the old unique ones, I guess we should probably keep one. But yeah, I really share that sentiment of the level of depth of playing Enrage, being able to burn the opponent's creatures. I think that it led to a high skill cap, and I think just in general the god power changes are kind of pandering to bringing Hearthstone players over to the game, and it's more of a marketing move than something that's actually in the best interest of the health of the game. So yeah.
It sounds like Armor and Burn won't interact well, so that's probably why they did it. But you could easily just make Enrage not target the enemy creature or something like that, target a friendly creature. Still takes away a little bit of the complexity, but would potentially be able to keep the ability. So
yeah.
One thing I don't think anybody mentioned, back to Deception, is that they removed Sleep, which is probably my favorite change to the god powers. That god power is just not fun.
That's a great
Yeah,
point.
I don't like how it was a one god power hard counter to Osiris. I thought that was so stupid. Like you literally, if you're playing an Osiris Chosen One deck, you can concede.
Yeah, I haven't seen the price on a token trove on Osiris, but I imagine it's not looking too hot. But yeah, I think that that about wraps it up for us. We're way over time by about an hour. I did not think this was going to go so long, but I just I wanted to say thank you very much to everyone, ProfesserF, Nottamali, FakeMews, Krumpy, and Alymere. Thank you very much for taking the time to do this and sharing with everyone all of those reflections. I definitely have a lot of new insight on these cards that I didn't have before. Thank you, everybody, for coming out and watching this. Anything you all would like to say, or I'll make sure I shout out channels for everybody.
I just want to say thanks for inviting us. Happy to be here with quality players.
Yeah,
I mean, okay, go for it.
I was just going to say I'm looking forward to doing some more reviews once we get some more card art and stuff out, and yeah, discussing some of the more powerful cards. So yeah, hang around.
Yeah, there's a bunch of cards that we didn't get to go over today that, you know, in the spreadsheet, they look pretty good. We just happen to get a lot of the bad ones, I think, you know, and from the spreadsheet, I'm pretty sure all of the like super bad card design mistakes we like reviewed. There aren't a ton in the spreadsheet, and I'm really excited for this next set to come out. The fact that they've gotten a lot of things right in some of the cards that are coming out means that they are still like learning, because they can't like know what's going to be a Yagma or what's going to be a Yashiraj or whatever until they actually print one. But they do know that, you know, Cage Berserker is going to be strong, and I think they hit the balance. You know, they tilted it powerfully. They're going to know, you know, this is the bounds of a 5-drop because they've printed Vicious Manticore and now Cage Berserker, and so they can tell what a giant 5-drop with Blitz is supposed to have. So they're going to learn a lot from this set, I think.
Cool. All right. Well, that wraps it up for us. Yeah. Thank you for sticking with us through that whole thing, and I appreciate all of your time. And yeah, I guess one thing I'm going to announce too, I'm not sure if it'll be the same cast, but we will be doing a bigger review of the entire set once all that is released. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, I'll be uploading this to YouTube eventually, so share with your friends. All right.